Space Day. When the family started out, the air was already warm and dust hung over the busy streets. Sadako ran ahead to the house of her best friend, Chizuko. The two had been friends since kindergarten. Sadako was sure that they would always be as close as two pine needles on the same twig. Chizuko waved and walked towards her. Sadako sighed. Sometimes she wished that her friend would move a bit faster. "Don't be such a turtle," she shouted. "Let's hurry so we won't miss anything." Sadako-chan, go slowly in this hat. Her mother called after her, but it was too late. The girls were already racing up the street. Mr. Sasaki frowned. Sadako is always in such a hurry to be first that she never stops to listen, she said. Mr. Sasaki laughed and said, "Well, did you ever see her walk when she could run? Hop or jump?" There was pride in his voice because Sadako was such a fast, strong runner. At the entrance to the Peace Park, people filed through the memorial building in silence. On the walls were photographs of the dead and dying in a ruined city. The atom bomb, the turtle ball, had turned Hiroshima into a desert. Sadako didn't want to look at the frightening pictures. She held tight to Shizuko's hand and walked quietly through the building. "I remember the thunderbolt," Sadako whispered to her friend. There was the flash of a million suns. Then the earth pricked my eyes like needles. Can you possibly remember anything?" Chusiko exclaimed. "You were only a baby then." "Well, I do," Sadako said stubbornly. After space by pulling prints and the major hundreds of white doves were freed from the cage, they circled the whistled scarred atomic bomb. Sadako thought the doves looked like spirits of the dead lying into the fathom of the sky. When the ceremonies were over, Sadako led the others staring to the old lady who sold cotton candy. It tasted even better than last year. The day passed too quickly, as it always did. The best part, Sadako thought, was looking at all the things to buy and smelling the good food. There were stalls selling everything from bean cakes to champions, crickets. The worst bad saints, people with ugly witty scars. The atom bomb had burned them so badly that they no longer looked human. if any of the bomb victims came near Sadako, she turned away quickly. Existence grew as the sun went down. When the last sizzling displays of fireworks departed from the sky, the crowd carried paper lanterns to the banks of the Ota River. Mr. Sasaki carefully lit candles inside of 6 lanterns, one for each member of the family. The laments carried names of relatives who had died because of the thunderbolt. Sadako had written Oba-chan name on the side of her lament. When the candles were burning brightly, the laments were launched on the Ota River. They floated out to sea like as one of fragile against the dark water. What night Sadako lay awake for a long time, remembering everything about the clay. Masahiro was wrong. She thought the spider had brought good luck. Tomorrow she would remind him about that. It was beginning of autumn when Sadako rushed home with good news. She kicked off her shorts and threw open the door with a bang. "I'm home," she called. Her mother was fixing supper in the kitchen. "The most wonderful thing has happened," Sadako said brightly. "'Cause that what?" "Many wonderful things happened to you, Sadako-chan. I can't even guess." "The big race of 5 days," Sadako said. "I've been chosen from the bamboo class to be on the real team." She danced around the room gaily, swinging her school bag. "Just think, if we win, I'll be sure to get on the team in junior high school next year." That was what Sadako wanted more than anything else. As Super Mr. Sasaki made a long speech about family honor and pride. Even Masahiro was impressed. Sadako was too excited to eat. She just sat there, grinning happily. From then on, Sadako thought of only one time: the rally race. She practiced every day at school and often ran all the way home. When Masahiro timed her with Mr. Sasaki's big watch, Sadako's speed surprised everyone. Maybe she dreamed, "I will be the best number in the whole school." At last the big day arrived. A crowd of parents, relatives, and friends gathered at school to watch the sports event. Sadako was too nervous. She was afraid her legs would work at all. Members of the other team slowly, looking taller and stronger than her teammates. When Sadako told her mother how she left, Mr. Sasaki said, "Sadako-chan, It is natural to be a little bit afraid, but don't worry. When you get out there, you will run as fast as you can. Then it's time for the rally race. Just do your best, Mr. Sasaki said, giving Sadako's hand a squeezing. We'll be proud of you. The kind words from her parents made the knock in Sadako's stomach loosen. They love me no matter what, she thought. At the signal to start, Sadako forgot everything but the race. When it was her turn, she ran with all the strength she had. Sadako's heart still thumping painful as in her ribs when the race was over. It was then that she felt self-strength and dizzy. She scarcely heard someone cry, "You think one!" The bamboo class sword Sadako, shouting and shouting. They shot her head a few times and the distance went away. All winter Sadako tried to improve her running speed. Too quickly for the racing team in junior high, she would have to practice every day. Sometimes after a long run the Tyson returned, Sadako decided not to tell her family about it. She tried to convince herself that it meant nothing, that the thickness would go away, but it didn't. It got worse. Frightened, Sadako carried the secret inside of her. She didn't even dare choose Shizuko, her best friend. On New Year's Eve, Sadako hoped she could magically wish away the dicey spells. How perfect everything would be if she didn't have this secret. At midnight, she was in the cozy bedquests when the temple bells began to chime. They were rings on all the events of the old yards of so that the new one would have a fine penny. With each ring Sadako drawn with made her special wish. The next morning the Sasaki family joined crowds of people as they visited their shrines. Mr. Sasaki looked beautiful in the best flowered kimono. As soon as we can afford it, it will be nickel for you. She promised Sadako your age should have one. Sadako thanked her mother promptly, but she didn't care about a kimono. She only cared about writing with the team in your eye. And this turns happy people. Sadako forgot her secret for a while. She let the bright joy of the season wash her worries away. At the end of the day, she raised much her home and won easily. Above the tour where the dog looked symbols Mr. Sasaki had put there protect them during the new year. With a penny like this, how could anything bad happen? Peace Day. When the family started out, The air was already warm and thus over the busy streets, Sadako ran ahead to the house of her best friend, Shizuko. The two had been friends since kindergarten. Sadako was sure that they would always be as close as two pine needles on the same twig. Shizuko waved and walked toward her. Sadako sighed. Sometimes she wished that her friend would move a bit faster. "Don't be such a trouble," she shouted. "Let's hurry so we won't miss anything." Sadako-chan, go slowly in this hat, her mother called after her, but it was too late. The girls were already racing up the street. Mr. Sasaki frowned. Sadako is always in such a hurry to be first that she never stops to listen, she said. Mr. Sasaki laughed and said, "Well, did you ever see her walk when she could run, hop or jump?" Where was pride in this voice? Because Sadako was such a fast, strong runner. At the entrance to the Pace Park, people filed through the memorial building in silence. On the walls were photographs of the dead and dying in a ruined city. The atom bomb, the thunderbolt, and turned Hiroshima into a desert. Sadako didn't want to look at the frightening pictures. She held tight to Shizuko's hand and walked quietly through the building. "I remember the thunderbolt," Sadako whispered to the friend. There was the flash of a million suns. Then the heart pricked my eyes like needles. "How can you possibly remember anything?" Chusiko exclaimed. "You were only a baby then." "Well, I do," Sadako said stubbornly. After spaced by bullying sprites and the major hundreds of white doves were freed from their cage, they circled the whistled scarlet atomic bomb. Sadako thought the doves looked like spirits of the dead flying into the freedom of the sky. When the ceremonies were won, Sadako led to the others, starting to the old lady who sold cotton candy. It tasted even better than last year. The day passed too quickly, as it always did. The best part, Sadako thought, was looking at all the things to buy and smelling the good food. There were stalls selling everything from bean cakes to Turkish crackers. The worst part when people with ugly wishes scars. The atom bomb had burned them so badly that they no longer looked human. If any of the bomb victims came near Sadako, she turned away quickly. Excitement were as the sun went down. When the last lightning displays of fireworks faded from the sky, the crowd carried paper lanterns to the banks of the Onta River. Mr. Sasaki carefully lit candles inside of 6 lanterns, one for each member of the family. The lemons carried names of relatives who had died because of the tumor. Sadako had read Obama-chan's names on one side of her lantern. When the candles were burning fireflies against the dark water. That night Sadako lay awake for a long time, remembering everything about the day. Masahiro was wrong, she thought. The spider had brought good luck. Tomorrow she would remind him about that. Sadako's secret. It was the beginning of a tour when Sadako rushed home with the good news. She quaked out the bed of her shoes and threw open the door with a bang. "I'm home," she called. Her mother was fixing supper in the kitchen. "The most wonderful thing has happened," Sadako said barely. "Guess what?" "Many wonderful things happened to you, Sadako-chan. I can't even guess." "The big race of 5 days," Sadako said. "I've been chosen from the bamboo class on the rally team." She danced around the room, carelessly swinging her school bag. "Just think, if we win, I'll be sure to get on the team in your high school next year." What That was what Sadako wanted more than anything else. Also, Mr. Sataki made a long speech about family honor and pride. Even Masahiro was impressed. Sadako was too excited to eat. She just sat there, grinning happily. From then on, Sadako thought of only one thing: the race. She practiced every day at school and often ran all the way home. When Masahiro came here with Mr. Sasaki, a big watch Sadako's speed surprised everyone. Maybe she dreamed I will be the best rumber in the whole school. At last the big day arrived. A crowd of parents, relatives, and friends gathered at the school to watch the sports events. Sadako was so nervous she was afraid her legs would work. All members of the other team suddenly looked taller and stronger than her teammates. When Sadako told her mother how she felt, Mr. Sasaki said, "Sadako-chan, it is natural to be up as fast as you can. Then it was time for the rally phase. Just do your best," Mr. Sasaki said, giving Sadako's hand a squeeze. "We're proud of you." The kind words from her parents made the knot in Sadako's much loosen. "They love me no matter what," she thought. At the signal to start, Sadako forgot everything but the race. When it was her turn, she ran with all the strength she had. Sadako's heart was still thumping painful against her wrist when the race was over. It was then that first felt strange and dizzy. She scarcely heard some cry, "Your team won." The bamboo class rose at Sadako cheering and shouting. She shot her head a few times and the dancing went away. All winter Sadako tried Sadako mm, tried to improve her running speed. To qualify for the cruising team in junior high, she would have to practice every day. Something after a long repetition return, Sadako decided not to tell her family about it. She tried to convince herself that it meant nothing, that the dancing would go away. But I think it would. Falsely, Sadako carried the secret inside of her. She didn't even tell Shizuko, her best friend. One New Year's Eve, Sadako hoped she could magically wish away the dicey spins. How perfect everything would be if she didn't have this secret. At midnight, she was in her cozy bed curls when the temple bells began to chime. They were ringing out all the pebbles of the old jar so that the new one would have a fine bang. With each ring, Sadako doubly made her special wish. The next morning, the Sasaki family crowd of people as they visited her shrines. Mr. Sasaki looked beautiful in the first beads flowered silk kimono. As soon as we can afford in full kimono for you, the promised Sadako, a girl your age, one should have one. Sadako thanked her mother politely, but she didn't care about a kimono. She only cared about rising with the team in junior high. Amidst throngs of happy people, Sadako followed her secret of a while the bright joy of the season was her worst away. At the end of the day, the race, Masahiro home and one Ashley above the door where the good luck symbol Mr. Sasaki had put there to protect them during the new year. With a penny like this, how could anything bad happen?